Alright, in today's video I'm going to teach you how to properly sharpen lawnmower blades with a 4.5-inch angle grinder. Now from time to time people complain that my explanation videos get a little long and drawn out. So for those impatient people that want a really quick and short answer to the question of how you do this, I'll give you a quick and short answer. First things first, get yourself a 4.5-inch angle grinder, get yourself a 40 or 60 grit flat disc, clamp down your blades to your workbench or a firm work surface, and then just try and match the grind that's already on the blades. There you go. That's the short, quick, and simple answer. Now, for those of you that want to stick around and hear a more in-depth, detailed explanation of how to do this and some things to look for and how to be safe while doing this, let's get into that. Now, the first question I should answer is, why do you sharpen lawnmower blades? What's the purpose? Why can't you just leave it on there? Well, you can, but what's going to happen over time, this edge is going to get extremely dull. It's not going to cut well. You're going to find yourself mowing over spots 2 or 3 times to really cut the grass and get it down. You're going to find that you're going slower, your machine is working harder. So there's a lot of benefits to sharpening your lawnmower blade. With a sharp lawnmower blade, the blade cuts cleanly through the grass blades, as opposed to a dull blade, it kind of tears through the grass, if it even cuts it at all. So having a sharp lawnmower blade cuts cleaner, it looks better afterwards, and your machine works more efficiently, therefore you're able to get more done, and it's just better for all parties involved. So now that we answered that question, first thing you need to do is take these blades off your machine. The common bolt size that holds these blades on your lawnmower is a 5/8 inch bolt. Now the first thing you want to do before even attempting to sharpen your lawnmower blades, look down the edge of the blade. Look to see if it's straight. Have you hit any rocks or stumps lately and it stalled out your mower? You ever hit something really hard with your blades? Well, take a look at your blades. See if they're all bent. If they're all bent out of whack, then the safest thing to do is discard it. Don't try and straighten it out. I've done it in the past. It's not safe to do. Just get yourself a new blade. The reason you want to get yourself a new blade if your lawnmower blade is bent, these things spin really fast. And when you have one edge bent up, it becomes unbalanced. And spinning at those high RPMs on that spindle, over time that'll wear out your spindle and eventually it could break away from your spindle. And having one of these blades let go at full RPM, I mean, you're pretty well safe on top of the mower, but you know, it could let loose, it could fly across the lawn, it could become very dangerous. So if it's bent, don't sharpen it. Next thing we'll get into, what do you need to sharpen your lawnmower blades? Well, I mentioned earlier on that you're going to need a 4.5-inch angle grinder. Now, they do make professional lawnmower blade sharpening machines, but those cost a couple $100. As where you could get a cheap angle grinder at Harbor Freight for probably $50. I recommend, going up a bit in quality. DeWalt's okay. I like Makita. Milwaukee's good too. I think I spent around $100 on this angle grinder at the time. Now, next important thing that you need to understand is, what do you put on your angle grinder to sharpen these blades? These two are absolute no-nos. The first I'm going to talk about, this is a cutting disc. It's very thin. It's not designed for grinding, which what we're going to be doing is a form of grinding. These cutting discs are designed to be used in one axis, straight on, and they're designed to cut through metal. If you start trying to grind with this very thin cutting disc, what can happen, this thing could shatter. And if you go online and look up angle grinder accidents, you'll see injuries to people where these things literally blow apart and impale themselves into people. So do not use a cutting disc. Now your next option, which again I don't recommend, you can get by with this is a grinding disc. It's significantly thicker, this is the grinding disc, than the cutting disc. It's used for grinding. So you can put some downward pressure on this disc and not have to worry about it blowing apart, but in rare cases they do blow apart as well, so it's a good idea to wear some good PPE. But with a grinding disc, it's good at removing large amounts of material away from metal quickly, but it leaves a very rough and coarse finish. Now let's talk about what I actually recommend that you use. This right here, in conjunction with the 4.5-inch angle grinder. This is called a flap disc, as mentioned earlier on. And basically it's a bunch of pieces of sandpaper that are kind of lapped onto one another. And the benefit to using a flap disc is, as you wear away the sandpaper, it keeps revealing new sandpaper, so this will actually last for quite some time. Additionally, this doesn't remove metal nearly as fast as a grinding disc would, but the benefit of using a flap disc is it leaves a very clean and smooth finish behind it. So it's ideal for sharpening lawnmower blades and anything with kind of a coarse edge. You know, you don't want to take a flap disc and try and sharpen a kitchen knife, but for lawnmower blades, ideal, perfect. I do want to talk about a few other quick safety things before I move on. If you do plan to use any kind of flap disc, cutting disc, or grinding disc in conjunction with your angle grinder, pay attention to this. So this is a 4.5-inch angle grinder. It says it right here on the manufacturer's plate, 4.5 inch. And it also says on the manufacturer's plate right here that this grinder will spin up to 10,000 RPMs. That's important to note upon. A lot of people never look at this, but whenever you buy any kind of disc, flap disc, grinding wheel, whatever, for your angle grinder, always take a look at the rating. See this rating right here? It's rated for up to 13,000 RPM. So I know this is safe to use with my 4.5-inch angle grinder. The grinding disc rated for 13,200 RPM. And my cutting disc rated for 13,000 RPM. So I know all of these are safe to use with my angle grinder. Now with that out of the way, and we have the proper flap disc selected, let's get into the actual sharpening of the blade. Next question I want to answer real quick. At what angle do you grind down the pitch of the cutting edge? Typically, I just try and match what's there from the factory. Now, if you plan to take your lawnmower and you plan to go through some really rocky, brush-filled, sticks on the ground type of terrain, and you plan to mulch that up, I'd recommend making the pitch of this cutting edge a bit steeper. Reason being, when you have a steeper pitch cutting edge and you hit something bulky that could, damage the blade, it will have a tendency not to chip as much. If you take this pitch and you make it flatter, it'll cut through grass a lot smoother, it'll look nicer, but at the same time, if you hit a little rock or pebble, you're going to do a lot of damage to your cutting edge and you're going to be chasing that chip for quite some time. So in most cases, just try and match what's there from the factory. Alright, so how do you take your angle grinder and match the same pitch that's on the blade? Well, what you do, first off, try and line them up, try and estimate what the pitch of this blade already is, and then just try and match your flap disc to that same pitch, and then do a pass or two, and then pull the angle grinder away. And then take a look at the blade, see if it's shiny up high, down low, or if it's shiny equally. Now, if it's shiny up high, that means that you have the angle grinder pitched too flat. If it's shiny down low, that means you have your angle grinder pitched too steep. If it's getting shiny at about the same time, that means that you have your angle grinder at the right pitch and you're safe to carry on. So now I'm going to continue at that same even pitch, and I'm going to take this blade down and I'll show you what we're looking for next. This is what your blade should look like when you're finished grinding. Be careful because at this stage, this blade is extremely sharp. So what happens as you're grinding, that flap disc pushes some material over the very edge of the blade and then it pushes it down a little bit. So a good way to test if your blade is ground perfectly, take a finger, again, be very careful, go underneath the lawnmower blade and then pull out. And you see that little overhang, that little lip? That is perfect. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do next to make this thing razor sharp. Alright, so what you do from here, unclamp your blade, then flip it upside down, like so. Clamp down your blade again. All you simply do is take a file and just go along this blade like so, just very lightly, and just clean up that overhang off the bottom side. Doesn't take much. And goodness, if you even want to take this a step further, which this is getting a little silly at this point, but you can take actually a honing stone and just do some small circles. Honing stone is optional, but definitely take a file along the backside. If you want to test to see how sharp your blade is, carefully take a piece of paper and just run it down along the blade. If it cuts through paper like that, well, you're good to go. And that concludes this video tutorial on how to sharpen lawnmower blades at home. Don't be afraid to attempt this project by yourself at home. It's really not that complicated. You know, just be safe. Make sure you wear safety gear, glasses, hearing protection, blast shield. That's a good idea too. And you know, the great thing about doing something like this at home is you can justify spending the money on the tools to do the job. And then you have those tools with you the rest of your life. You take these blades to a mower shop, what do they charge? $20 for 2 blades maybe to sharpen? You know, this costs $100. Clamps, I don't know what these cost, maybe $10, $15 a pop, but then you have these for your life, especially if you take care of them. If you're interested in any of the things you see in today's video, I'll leave links in the description below, and thanks for watching. Catch you on the next one.